Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, with Season 2 for Diablo 4 now well underway, you may be wondering how the climate has shifted when it comes to many people's favorite activity, the grind. Whether it be grinding experience, grinding legendaries and uniques, or grinding out seasonal materials, the entirety of your time in this game will be spent grinding in one way or another, let's be honest. So now that we are almost a week into the season, what are the winners when it comes to these types of farmings and how to do them best? Well, as far as experience gaining, there has actually been a bit of a shift this season. As I've done more and more of them, I am finding that a Legion event out in the open world gives me a very similar amount of experience to an average Nightmare dungeon, except that it takes less time to complete one. In other words, if you are hunting experience, you want to do Legion events whenever they are available. But the second part of that statement is the problem, as these only happen once every 25 minutes or so. When they aren't active, your best method of gaining experience is going to be Nightmare dungeons, plain and simple. The highest one that you can casually do is ideal. This activity has just had a lot of love and care put into it, and making sure players are rewarded well for doing it, and most of the rest of the game is just not yet quite caught up yet to this level of efficiency. There is a third option for this though, not quite as effective as the others for experience itself, but it doubles up incredibly well, and that is Blood Harvest. This new activity this season is always active, though it moves around its location relatively frequently. The idea is a nice densely packed area full of enemies, objectives, and chests that you can open up. The result is some of the best experience per time in the game if you just keep actively killing things as you move around, a doubling up with Whispers of the Dead, because there's objectives. Every time that you're doing Blood Harvest, there's always Whispers of the Dead objectives, which then will grant you even more experience, and arguably even more importantly, loads of gold every time you hand it in to make money just feel like a non-factor this season. I have like 65 million. I've not been selling a singular item, and then you just get loads of legendaries as well, depending on what you do within Blood Harvest as well. When it comes to farming legendaries specifically then, Nightmare dungeons are still decent. Last season they were the best, but the true best way now in Season 2 is actually, once again, Blood Harvest, and past that it is specifically the big special event in Blood Harvest that activates when players that are in the area spend a combined 150 within lures in the middle. You can save up your own lures and spend them of course, but don't underestimate the community. If you go to the activation pedestals, you can log out, then log back in and see how many players are around. If there are enough players hanging around the pedestals, try sending a friendly message in the chat, and it may well result in people putting in their lures as well, and then people may put in more lures right after, and if you can get a chain of these events going back to back, you'll actually have the incredible first world problem of running out of both stash and inventory space within minutes and having to just spend ages just managing everything. The actual yield of this activity is nasty. I got a good 20 legendaries in 10 minutes once I got a good chain of this going on, and if you could get lucky and keep that up for like an hour straight, that would make it 120 legendaries in an hour, with every one of those having the potential to roll as a unique instead. That is just an absolutely insane rate of legendary generation, and even if you don't get a chain of these, even just doing the event once every 5 or 10 minutes, if you're getting unlucky, is still completely absolutely worth it. The yield is just so high. It's like 5 or 6 high value enemies that all give 1 or 2 legendaries each on death every time that you do this event. It's just such amazingly high value. Aside from that, you are probably wondering about uniques specifically, and more specifically the target farmings of uniques, and the big answer to that might not at all be surprising, because it is actually just going to be doing the 5 new endgame bosses that were added to the game with Season 2. Each of them has their own pool of enhanced drop rate for uniques. I will glide through them on the screen now so that you know what you're hunting down to get the item that you've been hunting for as well, and the truth is, these guys seem to have about a 75% to 80% drop rate on uniques, which is incredibly high. Whether you get the specific one that you're after or not is pure RNG between the ones that are available from that boss, but you will get uniques drop consistently, and that is nuts to say in comparison to Season 1 and the base game launch, where uniques were actually pretty rare, whereas this season they just seem to be dropping like candy because of these bosses. On top of that, there are relatively constant reports of people seeing uber uniques drop from Duriel, the new level 100 boss, which means once you get to a high enough level and point in power that you can actually farm Duriel somewhat consistently, there's a high chance that anyone who actually plans to grind that boss will get an uber unique of some kind during the season. Whether it is the exact one you want or not is of course RNG related, but it seems like anyone actually willing to put time into that specific boss will be rewarded eventually. And it's weird to say, but it's such a good thing for the health of the game. All this stuff feels like it should probably have been around at the launch of the base game, honestly, which makes it feel a bit weird to compliment the fact that it's here, but to put it simply, as sad as I am that it wasn't here before now, I'm extremely happy that it is here now. Aside from this one then, the other big activity to make sure that you pay more attention to this season than you have before are world bosses. Before Season 2, these spawned once around every 6 hours, now they spawn nearly twice as often at once every 3.5 to half hours, meaning that there are more timers and more spawns to be aware of and to actually be looking for, and even past that, the concept, they are even higher value than they used to be as well now, dropping an average of about 3 legendaries per kill, it would seem, and considering you can easily down one of these in a minute or 2, that is a really nice return for minimal time investment, as long as you just keep on top of those timers. Of course, be doing other activities in between, be doing more efficient methods when you're not actually focusing on the timers, but when there's about 2 minutes left, just go sit at the boss location, have it spawn, kill it super quickly, and you'll get your rewards. Speaking of timers, the biggest change this season compared to last as far as efficient grinding goes is that Helltides have just completely gone out of fashion. They were actually a really efficient way to farm mass legendaries in Season 1 and the base game itself, but then they messed with a few things, and now we have Blood Harvest in Season 2 as well, which is just exponentially more efficient at delivering mass amounts of random legendaries, and so Helltides have been sort of relegated to take a back seat. But that isn't to say that they are completely gone, as of course you do still need Fiend's Roses and Forgotten Souls to do enchanting and also equipment upgrading, so you still do need to do Helltides. It just isn't as rewarding anymore in comparison to other events. On which note, I definitely recommend when you do Helltide that you open the 300 cost chest specifically, which will give you the boss spawning materials, but also a really nice big heap of crafting materials, as again, the crafting materials are the main reason to even do Helltides right now. All in all, if you are looking for the absolute singular most efficient activity that you can do in Season 2, I'd say that you're looking to do Blood Harvest. The experience that you get if you run around just killing every single pack of mobs in the area is surprisingly high, as the area is just consistently densely packed with enemies. It may not be quite as much as Nightmare Dungeons, but it is definitely at least in the realm of comparability once you include the rewards from completing Whispers of the Dead on top of that as well. As a bonus from that same thing, you also get a ton of gold generation in your gameplay loop, which is always very useful, and then the big things in here are the chests that you can open with keys and the major event right on the symbol for Blood Harvest itself. Realm hop around, joining different instances until you see a group start to gather around the area, and usually once there are enough people around, you can organize a bit of working together to get the job done and get the event running, which allows you to reap massive rewards for either low or sometimes even just no cost to yourself if there's enough other people around. Completely mooching off of others, sure, but hey, it's worth it when it works, right? That makes Blood Harvest the best legendary farm, with competent XP farm rates as well. The opposite of that is of course Nightmare Dungeons, which are the best experience to time ratio, with pretty decent legendary farm rates as well, with the secondary note that you should always do Legion events when they are around if you care about experience at all. And then other than that, just get on world bosses when they're around and have fun basically, and of course if you want specific uniques, target farm the unique bosses. Lots of things are different than Season 1 right now, a few of them are the same as well. Our grinds are different, and while the game is in theory very similar to what we played before, it just is feeling a lot better right now. The vampiric powers just feel so much more impactful than the Malignant Hearts did, and it is part of what is just breathing life back into this game for the moment and making it feel actually fun to play again, at least for now. I know I've been enjoying the grind, and I hope you have too. This pretty much covers it for today then, everyone. Just a discussion about any updates to the loot and experience farming methods that have been the most efficient so far in Season 2 for Diablo 4, now that we've had a number of days to settle in and test things out to varying degrees. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoy using any of these methods if you choose to do so yourself. The realm hopping Blood Harvest I found to be ludicrously effective in particular, though it does of course require some luck to actually find events in progress to join in on. Good luck out there everyone, and of course happy grinding! Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.